All right, I'm here with David Kerr. Thank you for being here. You just attended the panel Citizenship Education for a Divided Nation. Um, well, can you just shortly introduce yourself, who you are, what you work for? You work for an NGO called Young Citizens. So what do you do?
So my name's David Kerr. I'm Consultant Director of Education for an NGO called Young Citizens, which is actually based in London. And it looks to promote citizenship, particularly amongst young people. So it does a lot of work around legal education, social action, getting young people to get knowledge about being a citizen, but also to become engaged in real social activities that show what citizenship actually looks like in practice. And then my other role is I'm Head of Initial Teacher Training at the University of Reading, where we train over 550 new teachers each year, all the way from early years through primary into secondary. And clearly new teachers are really important in the profession for bringing new ideas, and I try and teach them about citizenship as part of their training.
Right. Can you just shortly explain us how citizenship education is organized in Britain?
That's quite a difficult question. As I mentioned this morning, Britain is actually 4 countries. So it's England, Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales. So the simple answer to that is they all have citizenship education as part of their curriculum in schools. The more difficult answer is they all do it in slightly different ways. So to put it simply, I think we can say that Scotland and Northern Ireland do it through areas of learning. So they have broad areas of learning, one of which is education for sustainable development and global citizenship. Whereas in Wales, they do it as part of PSE, personal social education, as well as the global citizenship. And in England, they do it through a subject called citizenship, which is non-statutory in primary schools, but statutory for all 11 to 16-year-olds in secondary schools. So same aims and purposes, different approaches because of the different countries.
And what status has the subject got in schools?
So in a lot of schools it's actually a statutory subject, so it needs to be taught, whether that's cross-curricular or as a particular subject. But clearly it's in competition with other subjects. So there's a lot of pressure now from English, maths, science, the kind of core subjects. So it's not seen as a core subject, but it's seen as an important foundation subject. But there is competition for time and resources in schools, so it can be challenging to find citizenship space in the curriculum.
And what are the greatest challenges in teacher training?
The greatest challenges in teacher training are to build the confidence of young teachers, because you've got teachers coming from a whole variety of different backgrounds. And if you're talking about them dealing with citizenship education, you're asking them to deal with quite difficult, controversial issues, particularly the state in which the UK is at the moment with the Brexit debate, the divisions between rich and poor, austerity. So if we're expecting them to educate young people about these kind of things, we need to give them the knowledge as well as the teaching and learning approaches to actually handle this. So that's why I'm really pleased that I've been able to develop with the Council of Europe and the European Commission some resources on teaching controversial issues, some actual training for teachers, beginning teachers, experienced teachers, head teachers, to really build their confidence in this area, because they need that confidence if they're to do it properly in the classroom. And young people really need to know how to handle volatility and controversy, because they see it all around their lives. So if we don't give them the opportunity to do that in schools, we really are not giving them the skills they need for life in the 21st century.
You said earlier on the panel that the Brexit is a real kick in the teeth for civic education, or of course we all know what Brexit is, but why is it also for citizenship education?
Right. Well, I'm not sure we all know what Brexit is. I don't think our politicians have fully decided yet. But it is, I think, for civic education, because it's all about conflict. It's about one side against the other. And that's not really what civic or citizenship education is about. It's about civic and citizenship education up till now has been about creating young people who are informed, who are responsible, who are active. I would say our politicians are not informed at the moment. They're certainly not responsible, and they're active in a way that's actually destructive. So the models that they're producing for young people are not models that are actually conducive for citizenship education. And what that means is we may need, certainly in the UK and possibly in other places where there's a lot of conflict now, we may need to rethink how we define and approach citizenship education. So rather than being about informed, active and responsible, we need to add some new elements in here. It's not just about promoting democracy now, it's about recognising that democracy is under threat and needs to be defended. So we need to educate young people about globalisation, about the threats from populism, fundamentalism, how they use social media, so they actually become critical in their engagement with knowledge and information. And they also recognise that they're going to have to make some quite difficult moral and ethical decisions in their lives about the way that they live their life and the way they address issues such as sustainability of the planet, how they engage with politicians in democracy, both in their local communities, and we need to give them good experiences in schools about how they can have a voice without shouting at people. They can actually look at an issue from an informed perspective, look at the different opinions there. You might not agree with someone, but you have an opportunity to learn how to talk to them, to understand their viewpoint, for them to understand yours, and to recognise that you can actually get along together and move things forward. And therefore I hope that beyond Brexit we get that opportunity to reframe citizenship education in a way that fits the 21st century and not the 20th century, which is what we've been doing up till now.
What gives you hope that you will succeed? As a last question, give us some positive perspective.
Positive perspectives. The simple answer to that is young people, young people, young people. Because I think at the moment we've seen, classic examples of Greta Thunberg and others. A lot of young people are still very much interested in the issues in society. The problem is they want to engage with politicians. They just don't trust and like the people who are politicians. So we need to be careful that the young people don't keep getting frustrated, they keep getting consulted, they keep getting asked, but the politicians don't listen to them and take any action. So what we basically need to ensure is that the young people are given opportunities to have a real voice. And that starts in their schools and in their classrooms, because they're the communities that mean the most to them. So if they can affect some real change in their school, improve something, have a discussion with the teacher, get something changed that has benefit for the school and for them, if they can take the positive messages from that out into their community, they're more likely to engage then with adults and politicians going forward, because they recognise that working together with other young people they can bring about real change. And that's what's needed, because a lot of the issues we're talking about in society are going to need a global response from this next generation coming through. So that's my hope, is that they don't give up on democracy. They give up on the politicians who are currently there, but they still have confidence that democracy is the way forward. So that's why I said we need to ensure that we're not just teaching them about supporting democracy, we're also teaching them about how to protect and defend and strengthen it, because that's going to be really important, not just in the UK, but right way across Europe.
Thank you very much for your time.